Hey guys, OGalbina here, bringing you guys our SBT Week 2 battle against Mams and his team that I don't remember the name of because it's a showdown and it's not as typically said out loud and stuff like that. But I believe another owner of SBT, definitely an OG of the league, and he's a really scary team featuring things like Mega Scizor, Terrakion, Thundy, Mamoswine's a demon versus my team. There's a lot of big threats, but I think we have a pretty good matchup actually, and I think we brought a pretty cool team. Really quick before I jump into the video, if you guys do enjoy today's video and you want to hit that like button, it really helps me out, helps push it out, the video into the algorithm, all that good stuff. And then sub if you're new as well. I'd really appreciate it if you helped us push towards 700 subs. We're actually plugging along pretty nicely at 620 at the time of recording this, so I'd really appreciate it if you help me out along that journey. But yeah, with that being said, let's kind of go into a little team preview. You can see the 6 that Man's elected to bring. He brought the Mamoswine, Thundy, Whimsicott, Slowking, Terrakion, and Mega Scizor. He also had a Chandelure on the bench, which I thought was really good versus me, so I'm glad that thing didn't come because I was a demon versus my team. Really scared of Chandelure, so that really does open up my Primarina a lot. We'll kind of talk about it. As for the team I brought, I'm not going to do a quick, I'm not going to do a super long in-depth team builder, but I'll tell you what I have pretty generally. I have an SD3 attacks Mega Gallade with Close Combat, Knockoff, and Fire Punch. Fire Punch just gives me an immediate way to nuke that Mega Scizor, which I really do like. Knockoff at +2 is going to nuke through Slowkings and things like that. Fire Punch is the one's got Knockoff and Fire Punch hit the Thundy hard enough to where I don't really need like Axle or any coverage for it. We can kind of close combat through a lot of things too. He doesn't really have a lot of switch-ins. We probably won't even have to SD in this game to really do a lot of work. We have a choice of specs for Greninja. You can see his Dark Resist on this team is going to be the Whimsicott, which takes a ridiculous amount from that, and if it gets killed with an Ice Beam, it dies. And Terrakion, which again does not want to switch into any kind of Surf, Scald, Hydro Pump, anything like that. So Dark Pulse is incredibly free this game. Even Water Move is incredibly free. If we can get rid of that Slowking, which is really nice. We have a Shukaberry, pretty defensive Aegislash with Stabs, Metal Sound, and King Shield, which is really nice. Does kind of bully down this team a little bit, and Metal Sound will help me bully down things like Mega Scizor, as well as the Slowking and things like that. And he actually doesn't have a Ghost Resist, which is really nice for me, despite me being pretty defensive. Then we have a Dual Stabs, Flamethrower, Stealth Rock, Nidoking. Pretty simple stuff in this game. And then we have a Terrakion. We have a physically defensive Assault Vest Primarina. We were AV to kind of switch into and check that Chandelure, which we didn't really deal too well on this team otherwise. So it didn't come, but the physically defensive nature of it's going to be really nice for things like Terrakion, taking hit from Scizor at +2, things like that, taking hits from Mamoswine. We can throw around Scalds and burn things. We can flip, turn around, just, a bunch of stuff like that. And then we actually have a Centiskorch, which is really cool. We're actually bringing it in this early on in the season, which is really cool. If you look at my opponent's team, he doesn't really have a lot of switch-ins. We're just a heavy-duty boots variant with 4 attacks for Fire Lash, Power Up, Leech Life, and Knockoff. Does really well in this matchup. I will not lie. I'm very excited. Hopefully I can position it well. And speaking of which, I'm actually going to lead off with my Centiskorch because I feel like it actually leads advantageously versus anything not named Mamoswine, which is a little tough, but if he has Stone Edge, or the Terrakion. But I do have ample pivots into Terrakion, at least at this point in the game early on, so I'm fine with that, and I think he's force click Stone Edge. So we're going to go ahead and lead off with our Centiskorch as he does lead off with Slowking. I'm actually going to knock off turn 1 and pop his Colbert. I figured he might be Colbert because it covers Greninja and Gallade, especially if he's more physically defensive for Gallade. So I'll definitely take popping this thing's berry because that means Gren's Dark Pulse is even more free. And it also means that Gallade's knockoff is going to be doing a lot more. And at +2 with a little bit of chip, we still nuke through this thing even if it doesn't have an item because it's a Mega Gallade and that's a Slowking. It's not the most physically defensive monster in the world. So I'll definitely take it. We're going to get a knockoff off, do a little bit of damage, but he's going to be able to regen that all off with a teleport right here. Go right out into Terrakion, which is good positioning by Mans, but we're going to be able to get a pretty free Aegislash this next turn and chew up this Stone Edge potentially as he just, make the nice play getting up his rocks. But I have a free Shadow Ball here. There is no resist on this team, so I'll definitely take any and all damage on anything as I can. We're going to click Shadow Ball and do 48 to that Scizor pre-Mega. Actually getting a Spadef drop as well, which is really clutch. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh, awesome. He's kind of forced in this instance to roost up to keep this thing somewhat healthy for the rest of my team. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm actually going to make an aggressive pivot out into Nidoking. I'm thinking I can either throw off a big Flamethrower, throw off a big Earth Power, something like that, or get up my own rocks, which will be really clutch. And I'm more so thinking getting up my own rocks because there's still a pretty healthy Slowking in the back that I don't really want to mess with too much. So I am going to go hard Nidoking. Unfortunately, you are going to see he is going to make a U-turn play, which is a very aggressive play. He's going to have to try and find a good position to roost himself up, because it's really one of his best checks to Gren at this point in time. But he's going to get good positioning into his Mamoswine, and I'm actually going to sack off my Nidoking. I know I could have pivoted out into my Primarina or something like that, but I can't actually Oko him with anything on my set. I'm not like a Focus Blasting Nidoking for this or anything like that. And definitely choose up an Earth Power So what I'm going to do is I'm going to elect to sack it off, because if he gets aggressive and he goes for an Earthquake and catches my Prim, he just raw 2-hit KOs me after rocks, and I don't think that's in my best interest to do that, and I don't have a switch into Earthquake at this point. So if he's going to get over aggressive, I would rather gotten that Earth Power chip off, but, you know, being that he didn't and he took his KO, that's definitely smart by him. But, you know, I don't need Nidoking or rocks to win this game. In fact, Nidoking is probably my least useful member at that point. But I am going to get the switch into Prim now and expecting him to switch out because he obviously doesn't OHKO me. I am going to go ahead and go right for a flip turn on this Slowking coming in and get myself into my Greninja for free, and I'm just going to click Specs Dark Pulse. Now, this does not kill, but he can't do too much to me in return, and I can always flinch him. I'm going to do about 80% here with the Specs Dark Pulse, and he's going to be able to chew that up and hit me with a Thunder Wave. However, again, I feel comfortable go ahead and clicking that Dark Pulse again, as Whimsicott does come in and takes 41%, and it's not leftovers. It might be boots, might be some other kind of item, but that chip is honestly incredibly clutch for me. It's not going to want to switch in again at all, and it's not going to want to switch in anything on my team at all. So that's definitely great. I'm going to go into my Centiskorch here. He doesn't elect to go for a knockoff or a U-turn or anything like that. He goes straight for the Giga Drain in case I stayed in to try and punish him being over-aggressive, because he doesn't really have great pivots otherwise. So I'm going to go ahead and get my Centiskorch for free, and at this point, I'm actually going to make the play of going for Power Whip. More so expecting that Terrakion to come in and make a little bit more of an offensive switch in, and potentially, you know, catch me with an Earthquake on my Aegislash or something like that. Push a little bit of offensive pressure, because I don't think that he wants to just sack this thing off yet. It's a decent check to the Gren. It outspeeds and can revenge my Mega Gallade when it gets a little weakened. It's a good check to my Prim as well. So I definitely don't think he's going to sack this thing off. And Power Whip hits everything else, minus Thundy, which I EV to take 2 hits from, and minus the Mega Scizor, which doesn't really do much to me besides knock off my boots. And I'll definitely take that trade and just Fire Lash and KO it. So I'll definitely take it. So I'm just going to go for a Power Up here. He actually ends up going Slowking, which is fine. What this does is it eliminates one more pivot from him, because what he could have done after this is maybe pivoted down to my very likely Leech Life, but he also could have just been sacking this thing off, which is definitely fair. So down goes the Slowking, which is really clutch for me. Centiskorch is going to claim his first, showing he came here to show up and show out, which is awesome. Terrakion's going to come in now, and I am going to make the Aegislash play, because I don't want to sack off my Centiskorch yet. It's still pretty good, and I'll live any one hit from this thing, as he does reveal the Life Orb, and he's going to click Stone Edge. However, I am Shuka, so I feel pretty comfortable in, living that next hit. Just in case, I am going to go for a Flash Cannon, though, because he does go for the Earthquake, thinking, he dies here if he's, you know, not Shuka, or just not expecting me to be Shuka. And the Scizor's going to come in. It would have lived that Shadow Ball anyway, so I don't feel too bad in clicking Flash Cannon in that specific instance, because I am pretty much, again, forcing him into a Roost right here. What that's going to allow me to do is go into my Centiskorch and, again, get a free turn. And I don't think he's going to want to sack this thing off either, because, again, it is a great Gren check, and he doesn't really have a lot of those, as well as a great way of revenging some things when they get weakened. So he's going to go Terrakion, and I'm once again going to make that Power Whip play, because I knew he was going to go out and do it eventually. He kind of had to. And while we don't pick up the KO, we are going to put this thing in range of its own Life Orb. He is going to make a good play and go for the Earthquake right here. But one, we survived, which is great. Only take about 32 from that Life Orb Earthquake, and it's going to go down right here. And, you know, we're going to be able to take out the Terrakion, which is probably the biggest threat to my team, for sure. Thunder's just going to come out. I'm just going to stay in Shadow Ball, not to let that thing sit up for free. It is going to take me out with a Thunderbolt. It's completely fine. We're going to go out in our Mega Gallade and just click Knock Off. He can't OHKO with me with any one hit at all, especially because he's not set up, as he is going to go into the Scizor, probably scouting for something like a Triple Axle or an Ice Punch. Either one definitely would have made sense, but this next turn, we can just catch him with the Fire Punch. I'm assuming he went for a U-turn to try and grab some momentum on us going into our Centiskorch or knocking off. But we're going to be able to knock out that Scizor. This next turn, he's going to go into Whimsicott. I'm going to go into Centiskorch, even though I can definitely live a hit with my Gallade and just knock this thing out with Fire Punch. I'd rather keep health on it so that I can live a hit from Thundy or live an Ice Shard from Mamoswine later on. And this is really the only thing that my Centiskorch comes in on super well at this point. I could still potentially take on a Thundurus, but I'm really only going to get one hit on it if I switch hard into it, and this just kind of gives me the most value out of my Centiskorch at this point in the game. But he is, I believe, going to go for a Leech Seed this turn. That's fine. I'm not going to let him sub up, at least initially right here. I'm just going to go ahead and go for a Fire Lash, as we see a Moonblast come out, do about 15, which is fine, and then we're going to go ahead and click Fire Lash and knock out this Whimsicott right here, which is great, because that also means we don't take any Leech Seed damage this turn. Thunder's is going to come out, but like I said a little bit earlier, I did EV to take 2 of these, so we definitely don't die to a Thunderbolt from here unless he's like a Life Orb variant, and even then I don't think it knocks me out. As right here, I am going to Fire Lash it, and despite him potentially getting out of range with that Leech Seed, Fire Lash's defense drop is actually going to put him in range to die to another one. And again, if he is not a boosting item, I guarantee live this hit minus crit or I guess boosting item. So we can kind of just stay in and click the button again very, very freely. So Thunderbolt's gonna pop. We are going to live. It's not a boosting item. It was probably boots or something of the sorts. And we're going to be able to knock out the Thunderous. And Centiskorch is going to claim his 3rd KO, but really pretty much 4 because he brought that Terrakion so darn low. But Earthquake's going to come out from this Mamoswine. I am going to sack off Centiskorch as much as I wanted to save differential, maybe sack Ren or something like that. I'd rather just take the safe play in case he's like sub-life orb. I don't know. As right here, I can go into Glade. I live an Ice Shard from there. I believe I lived a crit as well pretty easily. And then we can just go for a close combat, knock out the Mamoswine, and grab ourselves a nice 3-0 dub on the back of big Centiskorch, which I was really happy about. I don't know how many times I'm going to get to bring Centiskorch to a Draft League game this season. So it doing well, really well, in the first game I brought it, and potentially the only game I brought it, is really awesome. So I'm definitely happy with how this one turned out. GG's to Mams. Yeah, 2-0, which is great. Again, the team's performing really well. Next week we play Vergi, I think, who has another very, very scary team. And we'll see what we can do about that one. I know he has like Mega Medi, Torn T, you know, a bunch of scary shenanigans. So we'll see what we can do against that one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you enjoyed, drop a like. If you're new here, drop a sub. And I'll see you guys next time. Later.